The Penderwicks, A Summer Tale of Four Sisters, Two Rabbits, and a Very Interesting Boy, by Jeanne Birdsall. Chapter 16. The Runaway. Skye was lying on her Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday bed, listening to the opera music coming through the floor from her father's room, right below hers. A man was singing, in Italian, Skye thought, and he sounded awfully sad. Como se parlera, e stanca e muta e bella. Skye wasn't crazy about opera. All that screeching and why people couldn't sing in English was beyond her. But her mother had loved it. Daddy must be thinking about her, Skye thought, and wished for the 10th time she'd socked Mrs. Tipton in the nose when she had the chance. Anyone who could say those things about Elizabeth Penderwick deserved a broken nose. Then Skye reminded herself, also for the 10th time, that she shouldn't be fascinating about socking Mrs. Tipton. Yelling at her had been bad enough. She sat up and swung her arms around wildly. This controlling her temper wasn't going to be easy. The music stopped. A few more minutes and her father would go to sleep, and then she and Jane could finally go see Geoffrey. Skye got off the bed and looked out the window. There was plenty of moonlight. She and Jane wouldn't have any trouble climbing the rope ladder tonight. But what was that? Someone or something was moving through the trees. Was it Hound? No, Hound was asleep in Batty's room. Skye strained to see through the shadows. There it was again. Looked like a person, but with an odd shape. A hunchback? Who was it? And now he was lifting something up. Thunk! A rubber-tipped arrow hit the screen right in front of her face. "Geoffrey?" she called softly. Geoffrey stepped out into the moonlight. He was wearing his camouflage hat and a backpack, and was carrying a bow. "Let me in." "I'll be right down." Skye ran out of her room and down the hall to Rosalind's room. Rosalind peeked out. "Ready to go?" "Change of plans, emergency moops. Your room, back in a minute," Skye whispered, then went quietly down the steps and out the front door. "What are you doing here? We were just about to come see you." "I'm running away." Geoffrey put down the bow. "Are you nuts? If you'd seen Pensy." "Oh, Geoffrey." Skye felt like crying, which never happened to her. "This is all my fault. I should never have said those things to your mother. Didn't Churchy give you my message? It wasn't your fault. Besides," he looked down at the ground and shuffled his feet. "You stood up for yourself. You have courage." "It's not courage, it's just temper." He looked up again. "It is courage, but let's not argue. I want to tell you and your sisters what happened in Pennsylvania and where I'm going. Can I come in?" Skye took his hand, and together they crept back into the house and up the stairs to Rosalind's room. Rosalind and Jane were sitting on the bed, waiting for the moops to begin. They weren't expecting Skye to have someone with her. "Geoffrey!" said Rosalind. "He's running away," said Skye. Oh dear, said Jane. "Geoffrey, are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure. Pensy—" "Wait a minute, Geoffrey," said Rosalind. "We'd better make this official, just in case he tells us anything we have to keep secret. Do you mind waiting out in the hall for a minute?" "He doesn't have to. He already knows about Penderwick family honor," said Jane. "We told him after he rescued Batty from the rosebush," said Skye. "All those thorns," said Jane. "All right," said Rosalind, looking from one fibber to the other. "Then let's get started. Moops, come to order." The closet door swung open and out sprang Hound, his tail wagging furiously. He jumped on Geoffrey and licked his face. Next through came Batty in her pajamas, holding Funty. "You woke up Hound," she said. "Hi, Geoffrey." "Hi, Batty. Where are your rings?" "Take them off to sleep, silly." "Batty, go back to bed," said Skye. "No," she said, cuddling up next to Rosalind. "I'd like her to stay, if it's all right," said Geoffrey. "Batty, you have to be really, really quiet," said Rosalind. "You too, Hound." Hound flopped onto the floor with a grunt. Geoffrey took off his backpack and settled down next to Hound. "Ready, everyone?" said Rosalind. "Emergency no mops, come to order." "Second the motion," said Skye. "Third it," said Jane. "Fourth," said Batty. "All swear to keep secret what is said here, even from Daddy, unless you think someone might do something truly bad," said Rosalind, and held out her fist. Skye put her fist on top of Rosalind's, Jane put hers on top of Skye's, and Batty put hers on top of Jane's. "You too," said Rosalind to Geoffrey, and he put his fist on top of Batty's. "This I swear, by the Penderwick family honor," they all said, and broke their fists apart. "Now, Geoffrey, tell us everything from the beginning," said Rosalind. "It started yesterday, when Mother was furious at me because—" He looked at Skye. "I told them," she said. "Well, because of what happened in the music room. She was so angry she could barely talk to me. She just sent me to my room and told me to wait there. So I started playing the piano, and the next thing I know, Mother's barging in, telling me to pack an overnight bag, and that I should include a suit and tie because we were going to Pensy for an interview. An interview, just like that, all of a sudden. I got really upset and tried to tell her about not wanting to go to Pensy, but she wouldn't listen. She just said that I'd brought all this on myself and told me to hurry up with the packing. And then she ordered me downstairs and into Dexter's car, and we all started driving toward Pennsylvania. The sisters shivered. For the rest of their lives, they would want nothing to do with that state. When we got there, we stayed in a hotel. That was sort of okay, because I had my own room, and there was this great old black and white movie on television called To Kill a Mockingbird. Jeffrey stopped and looked like he was remembering the movie. Anyway, the next morning they took me to Pensy. It was even more horrible than I thought it would be. Everyone was frowning and saluting and marching around with rifles. I had an interview with Major somebody who served my grandfather in Vietnam, and all he could talk about was how my grandfather was his idol. When he asked me why I wanted to go to Pensy, I told him it was the last place in the world that I wanted to go. He just laughed and patted me on the shoulder and said I'd feel different after I'd lived like a real soldier for a few weeks. After that, we went to lunch. Dexter mothered me, and they told me I'd be starting at Pensy in 3 weeks. Old Dexter tried to make it sound all terrific. He kept saying how grateful I should be that my mother wanted to send me to such a good school. When he finally shut up, I tried to tell Mother how much I hated Pensy and how going there would make me miserable, but she just cut me off again and said that a little discipline never harmed anyone, especially boys who'd been associating with the wrong kind of people. Oh, sorry, I should have left that part out. Don't worry about it, said Rosalind. I'm proud to be the wrong kind of people, said Jane. Me too, said Betty. So is Hound. What happened next, said Skye. We drove back home with Dexter going on and on about all the rich families that send their sons to Pensy. Now there's this golf course across the street from the school, and I'll be able to use my spare time playing golf, and Mother agreeing with him and saying how she was sure I'd love it when I got settled in. I didn't say a word, not a word, the whole ride home. I just sat in the back seat and planned how I was going to run away. Jeffrey rubbed his eyes hard, then started talking again very quickly. And that's what I did. I went up to my room, pretended like everything was okay, got ready to leave. I put their golf bag under the covers of my bed so that if Mother looks in, she'll think I'm asleep. Then I climbed down the rope ladder and came over here to say goodbye. I'll sleep tonight under Harry's tomato stick. When Harry shows up in the morning, I'll ask him to drive me to the bus station. Skye broke in. But where are you going? Boston. Church's daughter lives there, and she'll let me stay with her for a while. I know she will. I'll go to public school, and I'll get a job teaching little kids to play the piano so that I can pay for classes at that New England Conservatory of Music I told you about. Don't laugh. We're not laughing, said Rosalind, because it's not as crazy as it sounds. If Church's daughter can't keep me, I have some distant cousins in Boston that Mother hasn't spoken to in years. Maybe when they find out she's not speaking to me, either they'll like me and take me in until I'm a little older. I've got my birthday money still, which will pay for the bus ticket. Plus I've got these. Jeffrey opened his backpack, pulled out several slim leather-bound books, and opened one. It was filled with unfamiliar-looking coins. My grandfather collected rare coins and gave them to me before he died. I think they're worth a lot. I should be able to sell them in Boston, right? Right, said Jane. Besides, maybe I'll find my... He stopped, all of a sudden very busy petting Hound's ears. You're what? asked Patty. For a while, there was no sound in the room except Hound's happy panting. I think he means his father, said Skye finally. Jeffrey stared defiantly around the circle of sisters. Mother first met him in Boston, you know. He might still be there. And it's true that I don't know his last name, but I don't look anything like Mother or Grandfather either, no matter what Mother says, so I must look like my father, and then maybe I'll pass him on the street one day. He'll recognize me, and I'll recognize him. It's not impossible. Of course not, said Jane. The gods of fate may be kind. Jeffrey gave her a grateful smile. That's what I thought. Well, said Rosalind. And I'll go with you to keep you company until Boston, said Jane. Then I can get a bus back to Cameron and meet Daddy and everybody day after tomorrow when they get home. What? Cried Skye. I'm older. If anyone goes, it's me. Order, said Rosalind. I called dibs on it, said Jane. Can I go too? said Patty. Order, come to order. Rosalind pounded her fist onto the bed. But, said Skye. Be quiet, Skye. I'm serious, said Rosalind. We have to talk about this calmly. First of all, Jeffrey, you know your mother will come after you. If she can't find you right away, she'll send the police. I don't care, he said. I won't go to Pensy. I won't live with Dexter either. Mother can do whatever she wants. I won't change my mind. What does it matter to her and Dexter where I am anyway? They just want to get rid of me. I don't know what the laws are, but... This isn't about law, Rosie, said Jane. This is about heart and truth and adventure. And sticking up for yourself, said Skye. I see all that, and... I know Jeffrey's mother isn't very good at listening. Skye tried to interrupt. But Rosalind silenced her with a stern look. But Geoffrey, she does want what's best for you, even if she doesn't know what that is. If there's some way to make her understand how you feel about Pensy. I can't make her understand. Geoffrey cried it out like he was in pain. I've tried and tried and tried. I know you have. And Rosalind did know. She knew he had tried as much as anyone would expect him to. I've got to go, Rosalind, don't you see? Against her better judgment, Rosalind told the truth. Yes, I do see. Hooray! Said Jeanne. Thank you, Rosalind, said Geoffrey. He suddenly looked desperately tired. But Rosalind held up her hand for order. None of us are going along with him to Boston. How could you even think of doing that to Daddy? You're right, said Jeanne, but we'll visit Geoffrey after he's settled. And he can visit us in Cameron, said Skye. To see Hound, said Batty. Definitely. Oh, and that reminds me. I brought something for Batty. Geoffrey reached into his backpack and pulled out the picture of Hound she had given him for his birthday. You keep this for me until I see you again, okay? Okay. Batty took the picture and showed it to Hound. All right then, said Rosalind. Now, Geoffrey, there is no need for you to sleep under Harry's stand tonight. Batty can sleep in here with me, and you can have her room. I'll set my alarm clock and get you up and out of here early. Wake us up too, so we can say goodbye, said Skye. And put together provisions for the hungry traveler, said Jeanne. Now everyone go to bed, said Rosalind. It's late. Jeanne and Skye went off to their rooms, and Geoffrey took his backpack into Batty's room and stretched out on the bed in his clothes. But Batty had a lot of organizing to do before she could go to sleep. She had to tuck Funty into Rosalind's bed, then go back through the closet for Ursula the bear, and then again for Fred the other bear. Rosalind put her foot down about Cedric the horse and Yaz, the new wooden rabbit. She said there would be no room left for people. Then Batty decided she couldn't sleep without her special unicorn blanket, so Geoffrey had to get up and let Rosalind switch that blanket with the green blanket from Rosalind's bed. Batty finally agreed to settle down, but then there was the problem of Hound. What with Geoffrey in Batty's bed and Batty in Rosalind's bed with Rosalind, he was very confused. Where was he supposed to sleep? He knew Rosalind wouldn't allow him on her bed, even if there had been room. On the other hand, he knew that Geoffrey would allow him on his bed, and he did love Geoffrey badly, but Geoffrey wasn't Batty. What was the dog to do? He went back and forth through the closet several times, whining, until Rosalind closed both doors and ordered him to sleep on the floor beside her bed. Guard Batty, she said, which wasn't quite fair, because Batty didn't need guarding, but at least it was something that Hound understood. He gave out a great doggy sigh of relief, collapsed onto the floor, and fell instantly asleep. Batty, too, was asleep in minutes. Then it was just Rosalind, lying awake, worried about Geoffrey and whether she should be letting him run away. If he hadn't talked about his father like that, the hungry look on his face, maybe she would have tried harder to talk him into staying. But still, was she making a terrible mistake? She wished she had someone to talk it over with, someone other than her younger sisters, who thought everything in life was an adventure. Someone like Cagney, for example. Except that she would never be able to talk comfortably with Cagney again. She might never talk to him again, period. He dropped by earlier to check on her, but she'd hidden like a baby in her bedroom, and now they were going home to Cameron the day after next, and he probably wouldn't try again. She would have nothing but memories, for she'd thrown away the white rose from his fimbriata bush and asked her father to give back the Gettysburg book. Memories and her bruise. She wriggled her arm out from under the covers and probed the sore place on her head. It was still painful. Her father said it would be for a while, but at least it didn't show anymore, for she'd rearranged her hair to cover it. Not much of a memento. Oh well. She didn't really care about Cagney, him and his pretty Kathleen. Rosalind gave out a great sigh that sounded like Hound's, but hers wasn't a relief. Then, at long last, blessedly, she fell asleep.